Awesome. Please do. Be as jerky as possible. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-hosts and do not reflect the official policy or position of the Firearms Radio Network and or their employers. Viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on live shows. And this episode, just like all of our episodes, is brought to you by Southwest Gunsmith Technologies here in New Mexico. Those guys are doing some great work over there. So check Southwest Gunsmith Technologies out. If you would like a chance to win some custom work done to your gun, either laser stippling, stipling, one of these days, Andy will tell me how to pronounce that word correctly, or some Cerakote work, go over to afteractionproject.com/giveaway. That's afteractionproject.com/giveaway to enter to win your gift certificate there. I believe it's a $250 or $300 gift certificate to get some work done to your guns. Rick Kennedy is a great gunsmith, and they're doing all kinds of cool stuff over there.
So can I ask a question? Can Rick make my Remington 1100 youth model fully semi-auto?
I don't know. I think to go full semi-auto, you have to talk to somebody on the left side of gun control.
Okay, gotcha.
They have the market on full semi-autos.
Gotcha. Well, Rick, will he at least claim my 320 for like $18?
I don't know what he charges to clean guns, but I'm sure he does. They're doing all kinds. Man, they have a laser engraver over there, so they can do a bunch of different cool, intricate designs on your Glock frames for Andy.
Yeah,
it works with SIGs because.
That hurts. That hurts. So coming off the other side of things, what kind of laser engraving can they do? Can they do like SBR lowers and stuff like that, or are we talking more ornamental stuff, or what?
I'll have to double check. And I wasn't listening to your question. I'm trying to make sure we have audio coming through. So if you guys are watching us on the Facebook live stream, double check. Let me know if you have audio coming through before we get into the intro for the thing. The thing is the live show. We're talking about competition level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu today. Danny's the instructor, Zach's the student. So we're probably going to go back and forth with banter for a few more minutes because I don't think my audio is coming through, and I don't want to do what I did last week and upset a whole bunch of you folks. So
talk to me, Danny. What level of training are you at right now in your world?
For me,
yeah,
I've been doing martial arts since I was a little kid, like 8 years old. I'm 44. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wasn't even in the United States back then, so it was either karate or taekwondo or kung fu. It was, more of what you consider traditional martial arts.
Okay.
And then when I was about in high school, that's when the UFC came out in the 90s. And the UFC was the introduction of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That was the whole purpose of the UFC. It was Rorion Gracie in California who created the Octagon, and he wanted to test Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu versus all the other arts, boxing, wrestling, karate, kung fu, and see which one come out on top.
Gotcha.
And then, as it progressed and evolved, the military took it up as their preferred form of hand-to-hand combat with combatives, and they called it different things, but it was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And now it's spread, pretty well throughout the country as a martial art people can do, coast to coast.
Gotcha. And Zach, what from your side of things, what drew you over to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu versus Taekwondo or, Kempo or something like that?
I actually started with Taekwondo when I was about 9, switched over to Muay Thai when I was 13, and decided toward the end of my military career, I'd be fun. Let's do a cage fight. Let's see what it's all about. And went in and promptly got choked out my first match. So I decided I'm going to learn jiu-jitsu. I didn't want that to happen again. So that was about 10 years ago that I started down the path of jiu-jitsu, and I train anywhere from 4 to 6 days a week. Have ever since.
We started a conversation in the pre-show about, and I believe one of you guys said that jiu-jitsu is number 2 against anything else. Number 1 would be using your firearm. Number 2, jiu-jitsu. And my question to you guys were, is that a controversial statement or not? Because the reason why I ask, and I'd like you to go back into that in detail so we could share this because I think it's important. You have other kind of martial arts like Krav Maga and some other more violent ones like that. what would you guys have to say in regards to jiu-jitsu versus a Krav Maga or something in that regards?
Well, that's a great question. Everything can be controversial, you know. There's always debate. The number one, though, from my experience, handguns, guns. That's the number one form of self-defense. Like, if you had a choice of how to stop an assailant and you needed to stop them, like life or death, a handgun is the number one choice of self-defense. The number two choice is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And that comes from the military in wartime. Like, when they actually have to go out and they can't just shoot everyone. That's like when they go into a house and they kick the door in and they're going door to door, people don't want them there and they're telling them, you know, get out of my house, but they can't. They have to search the premises and make sure that there's, you know, no one there that's going to try and harm them. And they have to go hand to hand with these people all the time. And so in the elite forces, the Rangers and the SEALs, and they're all coming in with experiences from outside the military. Like, maybe like Zach when he was 9 and me when I was 8, we're doing Taekwondo and kickboxing and Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so all those come in to play. And it turned out that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there'd be two big guys that couldn't handle a one person, like two big 250-pound guys, and then a little 175-pound guy would come over and just do whatever he wanted to them. And it kept being Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu over and over that was doing that.
So I noticed that you didn't mention the Air Force in that line of
No. They just have B-52 bombers. they just bomb you.
So Zach, it's my understanding that you are former Air Force, correct?
That's correct.
Did you do any of this sort of stuff in the Air Force? Did they? I mean, I'm picking on you because I like you and I love you and you're my brother and blah blah blah. But did you guys do any sort of hand-to-hand stuff in your training in the Air Force, or?
There is in certain career fields, yes. Overall, is it like the Army where everybody does combatives? No, definitely it's more compartmentalized that way. I mean, you have your services troops and other people who, you know, will never get anywhere near anything confrontational. So there's no point in spending the money and training them up.
Sure.
But those people who were closer to dangerous situations, yeah, you would get that training.
So what's the difference between the training that you got in the Air Force versus the training you get now from Danny?
Wait, can I jump in there real quick? Because I've heard the answer to this already. Isn't it? I mean, you guys still hug with no shirts on, but you don't actually fight, right?
So you're coming out here in April too, right, Andy?
No, I'm not. That's why I'm talking crap.
No, in the military training with combatives and all, it's definitely more focused on situational and a more life and death stakes. So when there are things you're learning, not just grappling, you're learning striking, you're learning edged weapons. You know, you have all that combined to where what Danny and I do now is it's, you know, it has ties to self-defense and is definitely still applicable, but it is focused more toward the sport aspect. So we keep track of points, we keep track of the rules, this and that. Where in military combatives, you're not worried about, like, you're gonna get disqualified for that one. You know, there's no disqualification in the battlefield other than just not coming home. So I also wanted to touch too. You asked, you know, jiu-jitsu in comparison to, say, Krav Maga, because that gets brought up a lot. Mm-hmm. And any of the good striking arts. I mean, we've all been around. You've seen bar fights. You've seen scuffles break out. How many times do any of these fights stay on their feet?
None.
One guy tackles the next guy, and then it's a brawl on the ground.
It always goes to the ground.
Oh yeah, and in jiu-jitsu, that's where we live. Everything is on the ground. So if you take me to the ground, you're in for a long day.
Or a short one.
And that's where we have the advantage. Yeah, or it might be a really short. You might get a nap real quick.
Right.
But it's that, and that's where we have the advantage because, you know, Krav Maga is highly effective. Muay Thai, highly effective. Western boxing, same thing. And you can inflict a lot of damage
if you're on your feet.
If you're on your feet and can keep the distance. But you get some big guy, like if Andy charges me, I'm probably going to the ground. But I'm not going to fight that either because I know then I have the advantage.
Yeah. So do you guys remember the movie Bloodsport with John?
Oh yeah.
When and this is I'm making a joke here, but I'm also tying it into a question. Remember the scene where you had the big old guy that had the huge tactical shelf here, that the little tiny little Brazilian guy was like acting like a monkey.
Oh, that was Capoeira, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm driving home to a point. You got somebody like Andy who has that same tactical shelf, and you got that little guy. So when I think of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I kind of think of that little guy that's like bouncing around the blood sport mat with whoever that big fat, Japanese guy was. And that's kind of what I think of. Can you correct me if I'm wrong and explain to me what it really looks like?
No, well, it's definitely not bouncing around. It's more, it's focused on, both of you being on the ground, both of you being tied up, actively grappling. There's space is at a minimum. If you control the space, you're definitely winning the fight for the most part. The other thing, though, is you brought up the size differential, and that was one of Master Elio's big things. Was he wanted to prove that with jiu-jitsu you can counter. Danny, what would you say is a safe thing? Easy 50 or 60 pound disadvantage?
The rule of thumb is, if you know jiu-jitsu and your opponent does not, you can beat someone if you're good at it. If you've trained for several years, you can beat someone twice your weight and 3 times your strength. That's the limitations. You won't do more. If I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu and this is just a huge monster of a person, if he's more than twice my size and more than 3 times my strength, I'm not going to be able to beat him. That's kind of
keep in mind, Danny's 6 foot and 200 pounds. So somebody twice his size is not going to be an easy thing to find.
Yeah,
that's a big man there.
Does that?
And Andy's 5'4" and 300 pounds. So finding somebody twice.
And he called me a big fat Japanese guy, I'm pretty sure.
But that's something that's not real well known. Going back to the early days of UFC, Hoist Gracie's one that everybody knows. He's the one who went in there and did all the damage, right? Well, Hoist Gracie was never the biggest, toughest of the Gracie boys. He was actually the smallest. That's why they chose him to go in there. The toughest one walking was Hickman Gracie.
Yep.
But they figured it wouldn't be as impressive of a display for jiu-jitsu if you sent in the big, strong Hickson. Send in little Hoist. And he wrecked shop on everybody.
And you were asking about when you're standing up, like when in the blood sport, when the little guy was jumping around.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that guy was. I remember that guy. He would just jump on you and start smacking you in the head. I'm not sure what he was doing exactly, but if you jiu-jitsu is kind of a big Japanese term. It's kind of broad. It's kind of everything. It does include striking, kicking, and punching. Judo is another branch of jiu-jitsu. Like judo, they took the takedowns out of jiu-jitsu and said, I'm just going to focus on the takedowns and the throws primarily. There's a little bit of submission work, but judo is just a portion of jiu-jitsu. So when I'm on my feet and we have a gi on, thick uniform that we can grab and get grips, I use judo at that point to throw people, trip people, pull them down. If we don't have a uniform on, if we're just bare shirted, which I usually have some kind of shirt on, but too old to run without a shirt on. If we're like doing no-gi where we can't use any grips on a uniform, then I use a little more wrestling. Sure. I'll be more of on the feet. I'll be a wrestler, but make no doubt once I get them on the ground, or maybe they get me, maybe they're really good at wrestling, or they're, they tackle me when I'm not looking or something. Then once we're on the ground, it's all jiu-jitsu.
That makes sense. So Danny, let's so I used to watch UFC a lot, and I've gotten away from it now just because they've gotten too big, but that's a whole other story. But that's what got me into UFC, is watching jiu-jitsu, watching Hoist Gracie and all of those Henzo and all those guys just wreck people, and it amazed me. But let's get to your guys' class and give me some details. So I'm a brand new guy walking in the front door. I've never done jiu-jitsu in my whole life. Tell me what that looks like, and kind of expand from there to where what would I expect? What should I wear?
Well, if it's your first night, typically we have a gi that we include in the program, like a uniform. We give you that, and you're going to learn how to fall down properly. You're going to learn how to move across the floor, like hip escapes, front rolls, back rolls. We're going to slowly get in shape. We're going to, every day you get a little bit stronger, a little bit better. And then you have to just learn one technique at a time. There's like 750 main moves. I don't even know them all. I've been doing it 10 years, and I know hundreds of them, but I don't know all 700. And that's just 750 name moves. So you're going to learn your positioning. Like if you come in with a wrestling background, you already have a good base because all you know is positioning. And so then all we have to do is add submissions, chokes, joint manipulations. Every joint that you have, we not the small joints like the fingers. We won't bend fingers, but wrists and elbows, every major joint, shoulders, forwards, backwards, sideways. We'll manipulate all of that. If you're feeling mean, you can mess with their neck a little bit. That one, I don't want to hurt anybody. But
yeah, we reserve that for each other.
If anything gets uncomfortable, Zach will fuss at me sometimes when I go for the wrist. Wrist locks are kind of like, eh.
That's kind of it's legal, but it's one of those things that everybody kind of frowns upon it. Like, really, you're gonna wrist lock me?
Well, like in Aikido, they show all these wrist locks, and in Aikido, wrist locks are awesome. But what Aikido misses, they don't isolate the elbow, so they really can't. Like, I have to give you my hand. I would have to say, here's my hand, wrist lock me. But in Jiu-Jitsu, we're going to isolate your arm and control your elbow, and then I can wrist lock you for everything. You'll wrist lock someone.
And now for anybody listening who doesn't know Aikido, if you remember back to the old Steven Seagal movies, that was textbook Aikido right there.
He makes a circle and you do a flip. You could just pull your hand away from that. It's. I have to give you.
It looked good choreographed.
Yeah. But if you don't want him to do it, you just pull your arm back. That's where Jiu-Jitsu, we're going to control it first, then we're going to submit it. It's position before submission.
I was actually working with a new guy tonight, Andy, at class, and I guess D'Angelo's been with us, a week, coach? Something like that?
Yeah.
He's been with us about a week. He has a wrestling background. He's an Army reservist, so he has some combatives experience, but he's still new. And so I've kind of grabbed him and been working with him. And one of his comments tonight, because we were talking about controlling the body, we got done, and he was like, "Man, it feels like you're just Velcroed to me. I can't get you away." I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's the point. That's why I'm not having to use muscle. I'm not having to try because I'm staying connected and I'm controlling his body. So he has to use strength, and I can just hang out."
Yeah, I used to. My daughter used to be in martial arts when she was a kid, and just before we'd get there, they had jujitsu sessions, and the dudes would just be worn out as we're walking out the door. And that was always interesting to me how that was kind of cool. We already have a listener question. It's from Rodin. And he says, I've always wanted to take BJJ, always too scared to get hurt, like breaking something, bad knees. What advice would you give on a new student?
Coach, go ahead.
Well, first, it depends on what school you go to. You need to go scout it out a little bit. Just like anything else, you're going to spend a lot of time doing. And if you like it, you'll spend a lot of time doing it. So go scout it out. Go look at the school closest to you. Look at reviews online. Go watch class. And if you see people getting just thrown through the floor or all messed up, don't go there. If you see people, though, that are helpful and you see like if you watch me and Zach roll, you would think, holy cow, those guys are trying to kill each other. You see higher level guys, like we'll be laughing. We'll choke each other senseless and we'll be laughing about it. But then when you look at the lower ranks, you see taking care of them and easing them up to that point. And then once you get up to a high level, you can go.
Oh yeah, but I mean everybody starts from zero, and you hear one of the biggest things I've heard about people who want to try jiu-jitsu and don't, like, well, I need to get in shape first. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Show up out of shape is the best thing you can possibly do, because trust me, you will get in shape.
Yeah, when somebody's trying to hold you down, you can't just lay there. It's very weird. You'd stop running on a treadmill, but you'll keep going when you're grappling. 20 minutes will pass, and you won't even think. You'll just be needing water because you're dehydrated.
Yeah, I think that throwing them in like baptism by fire kind of thing. When I do my with Andy and I, and Jeremy's been involved in this too, when we do our instructor training courses, I mean, it's baptism by fire, baby. I mean, we get them in there and we stick them in front of us right away, and we're evaluating and thundering away at these guys. So it sounds like, you guys, I mean, like we take care of them and we baby step them into the big aha moments.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you guys kind of do the same thing. So, like somebody like myself who has, certain joint issues and just other things that are going on. If I wanted to do something like that, what would you tell somebody that has some medical issues, like reoccurring dislocated shoulders and really bad joint pain from time to time? Is that something that you guys can overcome, or would you push me towards something like more of a Tai Chi kind of thing or yoga?
I hurt my knees. I did Taekwondo for years. I competitively tried for the Olympics for several years, and so my right leg was. I did nerve damage in it one time too when I was in my 20s because I didn't have to warm up yet, and I kicked a bag without warming up, and my knee was numb for years. Like I would drive with it sitting on my seat. Jiu-Jitsu strengthened up my core so much that it makes I squeeze so much with my legs, like not anything crazy, just that's what you do. You do a lot of like holding and positioning, and you flex, a lot of muscles you don't normally do. It made my knee track right. And, so I actually feel better now in my 40s than I did in my 20s because of that injury. So you would need to go. My suggestion would be take chondroitin glucosamine. I take that, or my back will hurt just from my age. I have a little arthritis in my back from deadlifting, believe it or not, deadlifting. But I take that so that my back feels good, and go to a place and like I was saying, the vibe you get. If you go in there and they're all 20 years old and they're trying to kill each other, that's not a place to go if you've got aches. And you want to go somewhere where you can see a progression. When you see white belts, they're white belts and they're getting treated well. And then when you see the guys, me and Zach, brown and black and purple belts that are they're really good and they're even scary looking, they're going to elevate you to that point eventually. I wouldn't go to a place that just has a room of 20-year-olds trying to kill each other because it's not going to be good.
That's going to be a meat grinder.
Yeah.
Go somewhere where they're going to help you and they're going to get you to a good high level of jiu-jitsu, and they're going to take you there.
But another good point to be made, Judson, as far as what you were asking, my wife Kara, that she trains with us, that she competed back in October with me.
Right.
She's got 7 herniated discs in her back from an end over end car wreck 10 years ago.
Wow.
And she's got damage to her hip. She goes in and she can train. She runs all the big dogs in there, but it took time to build up. But her back pain has actually lessened since she's begun training because it has strengthened her core up so much. It really has helped. So it's one of those things. If you get in the right situation, the right gym, and you make it known to the coach, make it known to your training partners, hey, my left shoulder's messed up. Just kind of watch it.
Okay.
You can work through a lot, and it'll actually help to rebuild your body.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
So Karate Kid 1, Daniel Rufino versus Johnny Lawrence. Who was the good guy? Who was the bad guy?
Okay, LaRusso was the good guy. We'll give him credit on that one.
All right, fine.
Is there a minimum? You guys say that if you're out of shape, just come on in. For a lot of folks, though, I think they're still going to look for, okay, this is what I need to be able to do. Is there something that they need to be able to do? Is there is a point where too out of shape is too out of shape, where it would be like, okay, we need to get you work on some cardio before you're able to come in here and roll around on the mat with some guys for 20 minutes?
I think as long as you're not going to, have a heart attack on the mat, if you can handle, because the nice thing about jiu-jitsu, when coach is teaching, if he's pushing too hard on something and you need a break, take a break. You're not going to get yelled at because you need a break. Fine, take a break, get a sip of water. You run at your own pace. You push yourself as hard as you know your limits. Don't try and hang with us older guys who've been doing it. Come in, do what you can do, no matter what shape you're in. Literally, if you can go in and just try. And if you only make it the first 5 or 10 minutes, cool. Make it 15 minutes, down the road.
Yeah, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Don't look at the guy to the left or right of you. You just come in and do what you can. Mm-hmm. And my goal is just something tonight. If I just got 1% better tonight, and 1% is not a big deal. If you just did 10 squats, you could get 1% better. But then the next class, you get 1%, and then 1%. And before you know it, a couple of months go by, and you're 100% better. Just it's that the littlest thing every every week even, heck, if a year goes by and you're 100% better, that's a big deal to me.
And set short-term goals. Don't walk in, I want my black belt. No, I want to come in and I want to go this week and not get choked out. That's my goal for the week. And that, I know it sounds dumb, but literally that's a huge thing. If you can make it a whole week and you don't get submitted, I mean, that's massive. But looking at it from the outside, you're like, really, that's all you're looking for? But it's
I don't know. For me, I think that would be my goal every day I walked in the front door. Don't get choked and don't get broken arm or something like that. Well, I have a friend that used to train with Gracie Barata here in Albuquerque. And he used to always tell us that they would, when they go in, they would take the newest guy and have them roll with the most senior guy. Is that still the case? Is that what you guys do? Does that sound about right for you guys or no?
as far as roll with or train with, I like to take the brand new guys. We don't want two brand new guys paired up together. I'd rather have an experienced person with a newer guy, because it'll only help speed up their progression through the sport. And coach, I mean, you tell us your thoughts on it, but that's how I've looked at it.
Well, it depends. Like it could be from the standpoint of, I want to show him jiu-jitsu, and help him. Because if you, like Zach said, if you put two white belts together, usually they try and kill each other because they don't know any better. They make up for lack of technique by effort. That usually looks like clashing beats, like just it's going to be as all muscle. But on the other hand, some clubs, like I said, they'll put you in the meat grinder. Like you're there for food.
Yeah, well, there's the old saying was white belts are food for the color belts.
Yeah. So that's why I like to go and check it out and make sure they're not feeding the white belts to the blue belts. That's that happens, a lot of places. So I just got to be careful.
Talk to us a little bit about the belt progression and what that looks like. Somebody that goes in there, they start off with the white belt. And what do you see your average student? What does that progression look like for the average student that's training 3 or 4 times a week?
It typically takes a stripe every 4 to 6 months. So you have only 4 belts. You got a white belt, a blue belt, a purple belt, a brown belt, and then a black belt. It takes 4 to 6 months for a white belt to get a stripe, and it takes at least 6 months on the color belts to get a stripe. So you're looking at approximately 1 to 2 years for your first belt to get through it, and then you're looking at around 2 years per belt after that. So it averages about 10 years to 15 years to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu is far from an instant gratification sport. You gotta don't come into that sport belt chasing, because you're gonna leave pretty soon.
Well, a 2-stripe white belt in jiu-jitsu is not to be underestimated for sure. They can usually take out most people. A 2-stripe white belt, people come in thinking, "Oh, we're the same." We're like, they got like a year or two. They're tough.
So let's talk about that a little bit, man. When we try to transfer these skills over to, being that second most effective form of self-defense, what does it look like? What's that progression look like? Is it when you're a 2-stripe white belt that you're able to start to, I guess, overpower and win those entanglements with the guy that's 3 times your strength and twice your size? Or what does it look like before before an average student starts to see some results that would be effective in saving their life or protecting themselves in a ground fight?
I think it's relative. It depends on what kind of athleticism the person has, what they bring to the table, how hard they work, how many nights a day they train. Your blue belt is going to be pretty solid. Like when you get a blue belt, you're going to be pretty tough. A purple belt is pretty much going to do what he wants to. Used to, like, purple belts were the world champions in the UFC. Blue belts were just, nobody even saw them. They were real. That wasn't that long ago. But a 2-stripe white belt can take out black belts in most arts. Like when I was already a black belt in a couple of martial arts, and I had a 2-stripe white belt in jiu-jitsu 11 years ago. He submitted me every minute for an hour. It was horrible. I popped my.
No, I know how that feels.
Like, I was tough. I was in my 30s. I was tough, and I could go for an hour, but I got my butt whipped for. And he was just a 2-stripe white belt. Tuned me. I was shocked. I'd throw him off of me, and he'd just land right back on me. He would kind of go up and then land right back on me. submit me. Just every minute for an hour. It was horrible.
What so we're talking about competition level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. What's the difference between that and the other? Are there other forms of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? And kind of explain that, the gi, the no gi training, and if you wouldn't mind expanding on that.
Yeah, there is kind of a divergence. My professor is Carlos Machado, originally from Rio de Janeiro. He was the head instructor for Gracie Barra, and 10-time national champion in Brazil. He dominated jiu-jitsu before we heard about it. And he's first cousins to the Gracies.
Yeah, Henzo and Hickson and all. That's Master Carlos's first cousins.
Yeah, he was teaching for them back in the day, and he has 5 brothers, four other brothers. Well, his version of jiu-jitsu is a lot like Elio Gracie's version, where he wants you to be able to grapple with someone at a high intensity for 1 hour. He wants you to be able to lock up with somebody and go full at a high pace for 1 hour. That is his idea of an expert level jiu-jitsu. And they're really not into the sport. Like Brazilian jiu-jitsu was made for the weaker person. So the sport is kind of counter to it. Like Elio doesn't like sport jiu-jitsu because you need to be the faster, stronger person. And I personally like both. I like the idea of being able to grapple. If I had to defend myself, we could go at it all day, hours. I would be able to tie somebody up, nullify them, and neutralize them for hours if they were a lot better, stronger, and faster. And I would eventually wear them out and do what I wanted to them. And in the sport sense, I want to be in shape. I want to eat right. I want to be fast and strong and be able to submit people who know I'm trying to submit them. So I kind of embrace both sides of that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, I think, if you're going to do the sport side, the self-defense side isn't automatic. Now, you can do the self-defense without the sport side, but I don't think you'll, in my opinion, in the way that I train, and I think a lot of that is credited to Danny, is the fact that, I'm definitely competitive. I'm competing again, actually, in 31 days, I think, 30, something like that.
I have a coach that probably said it the best. He said, I want to teach something that will make people train and repeat the moves over and over. And you guys, if you do competitive shooting, and it will make you better. Just the focus and repetitiveness and the concentration that you'll do when you've got something to win or lose, you will get better. So if we do the next tournament we will be better just because of that focus and intensity and the situation.
So Dan, can I get you to repeat that? I'm copiously taking notes here, but the first thing you said there is, I want to teach somebody something that will make them want to train. Repeat it.
To repeat that move over and over and over. That's the only way you get good at it.
So, I've got a couple. I've got my notes here in front of me. I'm trying to, decipher everything. And for those of you that don't know me, I can't write for shit. But
but you do a lot of it.
Yeah.
So you don't fear the man who does 1,000 moves once. You fear the man who does one move 1,000 times.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So Zach, did we do pro tips in your class?
Oh yeah. Okay. I actually wrote a bunch of those down.
Okay, so we're continuing to do that, and Andy and I are working on some other things with that. But I've written several things down that are going to actually go into the pro tips that we teach our instructors. And the first one is I want to evaluate the 1% better. What does that mean to you, Zach? When you go to the do you call it a dojo or a studio?
Gym.
The gym. When you go to the gym, what does your 1% look like?
For me, especially this time of year when I know there's a tournament coming, my 1% is, Danny and I will sit down 90 days out of a tournament and start working my game plan. So from that point on, my 1% is I want to get in there and I want to work my game plan on every practice. So my 1% each time is, this one portion, this one position, this one move, I'm working, and I get to put it to the test to make sure I'm getting there. I'm hitting that move, I'm holding that position. And so when I get that secured, then I go on to the next goal. If I want to work just one takedown, then I'm going to work it for a week, 2 weeks straight every day to start practice. I feel so sorry for my teammates when that happens, but I do a lot of judo throws. And so I walk in and my warm up is I'm going to hit 25 throws in a row. That's how I get my warm up. So I have to have somebody to throw. And like I said, I feel bad for them because they are just getting 200-pound men getting tossed like rag dolls 25 times in a row. But that's my 1%. You'll never get better at it if you don't drill it and drill it and drill it, which, you guys have all understand.
Yeah.
How many times do you practice your draw stroke? Countless.
Thousands. I can't count.
But now it's second nature to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the exact same premise.
So don't let effort make up for technique. That was something Danny said. So Danny, on your side of things, you got two guys that come in, and I'm trying to kind of bring us full circle here, but don't let effort make up for technique. What does that mean to you, and how would you describe that to a new student that walks into your door that is just biting at the bit, wanting to learn? How would you say, don't let effort make up for technique to that new person?
Well, I would say embrace the techniques that we're doing. You can't help it. I box sometimes. I'm not nearly as good at boxing, so I'll feel myself punching harder than I should. Like I'll be pushing instead of snapping. And the same way with jiu-jitsu, when you first come in, you can't help it. You're going to try to squeeze people or pull really hard. Your grips will be sore. Your fingers will be sore. Like your forearms will burn because you're just burning your grips. You don't know how hard should I hold on to this. So I'm going to hold on as hard as I possibly can. And if you'll just relax and, drill the moves, feel the moves, roll with some higher ranks, feel how smooth they are, what they do, and then steal that. Whatever they do, steal it and emulate them. They're there, and the things they're doing, they're going to be technical. And you just, you try not to make up for the lack of knowledge and stuff by just trying as hard as you can. Learn. The technique will do it for you. I would start embracing the technique as soon as I possibly could.
Yeah, and I so appreciate that. And Zach knows me better than some. And I am a note taker. I have notepads all over the house, everywhere. And well,
if you go to the other end of the spectrum, we have CrossFit guys and we have bodybuilders come in sometimes, big weightlifters. I mean, I've had guys come in and I swear their trap was at their ear. Like they had traps like literally up to their ear. And we would, everyone would do whatever they wanted to them, like submit them. In fact, I hate to say, they're probably the last person who's going to stay with us, a big bodybuilder, because it hurts their ego so much to get submitted by tiny people. Just to, they're doing anything they want to them. And I had one bodybuilder, he said one time, man, big muscles don't translate to being able to not get your butt kicked. And everybody kind of laughed. But that was the last night he ever came, too.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that the next pro tip I'm giving you credit for is teach somebody something that they will want to repeat. I mean, that's something that's huge. And I mean, as an instructor, as a training counselor, Andy, Jeremy, you guys are both awesome instructors. Zach, you're an awesome instructor. But that's something huge. I want to teach somebody something that they will want to repeat. That's amazing. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that totally. And it's funny on the big muscle bound dudes. They're probably going over there just to get stretched out so they could wipe themselves better. As my
exactly.
But let's go.
Big muscle up guys don't like to get bent in half very much.
All right. Let's go back to the other side of that spectrum. You mentioned your wife trains with you guys and stuff. So I have a 20-year-old daughter, and she's been looking back into getting back. Let me start that over, editor. I have a 20-year-old daughter. She's looking to get back into martial arts. She did some Kenpo for a while, and really we need to relate this stuff to what we're talking about, right? Self-defense. And often we see videos, and Zach, you and I had a conversation on a Patreon page about it. But what do you think about women against men? The rape is out there. It's a problem.
I'm a big believer. Every woman should train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If nothing else, the amount of rapes that do occur would significantly drop, with a woman who's trained Jiu-Jitsu. Because when you think about it, if you're, I generalize, granted I'm no expert in rape, thankfully, but You know, it would seem most of the time a big guy is going to tackle a smaller girl or a girl, and he's going to be on top of her between her legs, correct? Well,
Right.
in jiu-jitsu, that's having somebody in your guard, if you're familiar with it. You're on your back, you have your legs wrapped around their waist. Well, when the person who's on the ground, who's on their back, that's actually a position of dominance for them. The person who is in between their legs is at a weakened position. So think if a woman is trained on how to take care of herself in that respect, it's, you know, you're going to overpower a lot of attackers.
Women have strong legs. Women typically have really strong legs and hips.
Mm-hmm.
Say a woman weighs 140 pounds, her hips can lift twice her body weight where her hands can't. So she could use her hips to pop 200. She weighs 130, like 260 pounds. She could lift it. With her arms, she couldn't lift 100 pounds. You know, a lot of women can't lift 80 pounds with their upper body, but their legs and their hips, they can lift hundreds of pounds. So like Zach said, she throws one leg over the shoulder to the neck, brings the other one, hooks them together. She can choke that guy unconscious.
8 seconds or less.
Yeah. And you know, she can choke that short-term memory out where he doesn't even remember. Like if she just squeezes him a little bit longer, he won't even remember where he's at. He won't remember ever meeting her. Good.
Yeah, and so that's my biggest concern, because I watch other gun guys and I watch some martial arts stuff, and I try to do some research for her, per se, to be able to give her the right information of what's actually going to work out there. Because you often see this stuff, or yeah, we can teach them all this martial arts stuff, but the reality, a big dude jacked up on drugs and adrenaline is just going to overpower a female and do what he wants. So I want something for her, or the female that's out there really wanting something that's going to be effective. And I think
definitely jiu-jitsu.
There's no tough guys when you choke them. There's none. I could break you could break someone's arm, you could break their face, their jaw, and if they're on some kind of drugs, then they'll keep coming at you. You could shoot them even, they'll keep coming at you. But if you choke them properly, there are no tough guys. You'll choke them out. You could actually kill them if you wanted to. It's up to you to let go and let them live or not if you choke them properly.
Yeah.
So women have nice little, you know, the bigger your arm, it actually isn't that much better for choking.
No.
Like my son, these guys and the girls with skinnier arms, they like nooses. They'll come around your neck and choke you so good, like, because their arms will actually fit around your neck and hit the carotids, where a bigger arm's going to kind of come over the whole face, just kind of squish it. They'll actually slide right into your neck and choke you like a rope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Judson, this might be your next martial arts, man. As small as you are, you could be a killer. What do you think?
I know, right? I mean, that's freaking awesome. I love it.
I honestly do think it would be beneficial for your condition in your body, Judson.
Do you think it'd be beneficial for my health?
I do.
Knowing what
really
you know.
do. Yeah, knowing what I know, I really do. I know with your grips especially are such a problem right now. Just the amount of work that'll go into building those back up. If you do it right, and you don't try to overdo it, which I know you're intelligent, you're not going to go that route. You'll train smart, but yeah, you could really make a significant difference. And there's things when you're out here, there's stuff I'll show you that you can work at home even, that it'll start to make a difference for you, I think.
Well, when I come out there, I'll be on my own timeline, with the exception of dropping Sean off at the Dallas airport. But we'll make that work. I'll try to spend some extra time with you guys.
When you get here, you'll have a house key, man. Stay as long as you want.
Awesome. So I think, was it Danny that talked about being on your back, or was it you? I don't remember.
Me, but either way, he knows more than I do about it. So
I love dogs. I've got 3 of them sitting over here right now that are, you know, cuddled up around me. And I was this is a lot of years ago. I was talking to a guy that was a professional dog trainer, and one of my dogs was on its back upside down playing with another dog. And I was thinking the dog on top was actually the alpha. And the reality is the dogs put themselves in a position on the ground where they get more leverage. They have more access to, you know,
to the throat,
you know, the neck and whatnot. And we're almost getting into the wolf, you know, portion of the dog. But can you speak a little bit about that as far as being on your back? And I'll start with Zach, and then Zach, you kick it over to Danny. But being on your back, I was surprised to learn that an alpha dog would actually go onto its back in order to have more access with all 4 paws and legs and, you know, the sharp teethy thing. Whereas, you know, being on top, you might have gravity working for you, but if you're on the bottom, you have more leverage working for you. So, Zach, can you speak to that just a little bit, then kick it over to Danny?
Oh, definitely. Let's, you know, if I'm on my back and I have someone on my guard, you know, they're on their knees and they have their base, but really for them to move or anything, they have their two arms to push against me. Well, I have two arms to grab them with, but I also have them wrapped in my legs. So look at all the strength in my core, my hips, my legs. I can bring their entire body up onto me. I can manipulate their position and still have both my arms free. So I can attack their collars, their neck. I can go after their arms, their shoulders. I mean, there's so many options from, you know, attacking from the bottom that I could always just sweep them too and go to the top. But I am completely comfortable whenever we have new guys that come in, especially big guys. I'll intentionally, like, I'll have them roll with me, and I will intentionally take the bottom position and let these big tough guys just try. And they wear themselves out. They're trying so hard, and they're not even past my guard. And I'm sitting there, you know, I'll have my eyes closed. I'll hum. I'll just, Oh yeah, because I want them to see that it's not how hard you can do this, not how strong you are. It doesn't matter. Danny hears all the time, and he laughs every time I'm rolling with a new guy, and I'm like, slow down your breathing, close your eyes, relax. You know, you go to a lot of these gyms and they play reggae music because it keeps everybody chill. But it's something that's why. But I always take bottom position just to let them see. You know, I'm a big, strong wrestler. I'm stronger. Yeah, you are, and you're still going to get choked because you're just going to struggle and struggle. And I'm going to be able to hang out, and I'm going to pick my time when I want to do what I want to do. But it's like you said, it's counterintuitive to think that you would be on the bottom and be in the dominant position.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Danny, please fill in where I've left gaps, I'm sure.
Well, I definitely, me personally, I like to be on top. I like to get the top position because if we're in a self-defense situation, like I want to be on top of them and they're in the gravel getting all cut up by that. I'm a bigger guy, so it's very likely that I can get the top position and put a lot of pressure on people. Like if I got on top and I was to hook their legs with mine and grab their head and put my hips, you can put around 500 to 600 pounds of hip pressure on their diaphragm. I've submitted humongous, like 275-pound men that were really strong with just their I just squished their diaphragm so bad they couldn't breathe anymore, and they had to stop just from me being on top. But the reason jiu-jitsu is so effective, and unlike wrestling, it's not weight class. If you're bigger and stronger, let's say I run into a 350-pound Brock Lesnar, just a big, just monster, he's going to get on top of me. He's going to take me down. He might knock me down with one hand even. I mean, there's just nothing I can do about a guy like that. So now I got to be able to work from the bottom position, you know, and work my way into a good position, maybe his back, maybe underneath him, maybe to his legs. You know, so it allows me to not be the stronger person and still come out, you know, winning for sure. A woman would try to punch a guy in the face and he might just, you know, heck, it'll hurt her hand more than it will his face probably if the guy would be attacking her. But if she was you know, he took her down and she ended up choking him, you know, reversing him, taking his back, she would do that because she wouldn't be scared from the bottom. She would know how to move her legs and hips, and you know, like I said, she could either choke him from the bottom or go to his back or reverse him from the bottom. So she'd have lots of options, and you know, just like we would.
Is there? I think we'd all agree that if there was only one martial art that someone could train in, jiu-jitsu would probably be near the top of that, if not the top choice. Is there another martial art that kind of complements the skills that you would employ in a street fight or in jiu-jitsu? Is there something to kind of supplement the standing, or is there some standing work in jiu-jitsu?
So you're asking the striking portion?
Yeah, well, jiu-jitsu is, correct me if I'm wrong, is primarily the grappling, right? It's
correct.
Primarily focused on grappling, but what up until the grappling point, right? Is there skill sets in jiu-jitsu that focus on striking?
Typically, no. If we touch on self-defense, we'll talk about it. But it's mostly to avoid getting hit. It's mostly like defending and deflecting and taking people down.
I'd say if you want that complementary portion for striking, Muay Thai is going to do the most amount of damage with the least amount taken. That's where my money would sit.
Or boxing. I like boxing too. Boxing's simple. It's just a couple of punches, putting together combinations. Boxing's simple.
And what does a student need to show up with day one? If you want to, day one hasn't practiced any martial arts, what does he need to bring with him?
Just shorts, just like sweatpants and a t-shirt.
And a bottle of water.
Yeah.
Have at it.
That's awesome.
And as far as self-defense, I wouldn't even think so much. Self-defense is important, but health is a big deal. Just being healthy and happy. And when you work out like that, when Zach and I grapple, it releases endorphins, and it's like taking a pill, like a happy pill. Instead of you having to take one, you're going to release endorphins and adrenaline. And when you get done, all the worries of your day are melted away, and you're left with just a really euphoric feeling and a feeling of satisfaction. And you go home and sleep better that night. And then the next day, it may be rough going through the day, and then you get back and you get to wipe out. Sometimes you don't even want to go. You're upset. Stupid stuff happened all day. And you're like, I don't even want to go tonight. But then you just go. And by the time you get done choking, Zach gets done choking me. And I choke him. We're having a great time. And, it's a form of happiness as well. Like a good workout is very good for your mental and physical health as well. And that's way more likely to benefit you than even self-defense. That's every day I'll benefit from being happy and healthy.
Yeah. So I have a question for both of you guys, and I'll pitch it to, let's go with instructor first. So Danny, I want a legitimate martial art. The question is, are these people legitimate martial artists? Yes or no? Bruce Lee.
Yes.
Chuck Norris.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Steven Seagal.
Nope.
And Jet Li.
Jet Li.
Jet Li. Yeah.
And Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
And Donnie Yen.
That's Ip Man.
Yeah.
Is that Ip Man? I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's what he's talking about.
I don't know it.
So Zach, how about you? Bruce Lee, yes or no?
Oh, yeah.
Chuck Norris.
Yes.
And Steven Seagal.
Nope.
Jet Li.
Yes.
Jackie Chan.
Yes.
And Donnie Yen.
I don't know him either.
Okay. All right. Then how about Jean-Claude Van Damme?
No.
Okay. Awesome. So,
Are you kidding? He got beat up by his own bodyguard for getting drunk and lipping off about 10 years ago.
right on. Andy, anything to add?
Well, case in point, didn't Justin Bieber just beat up his bodyguard too?
What are you doing following Justin Bieber?
Hey, I got to get in with
Judson warned me about Andy.
I wish he would have warned me.
Have y'all ever heard of Judo Gene LaBelle?
Yes.
LaBelle?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. He carried Bruce Lee around on a movie set on his shoulders one day. Like he picked Bruce Lee up and put him on his shoulders and ran around the movie sets on Enter the Dragon, and Bruce Lee was yelling, "Let me go, let me go." And
oh, really?
Gene LaBelle was like, no, and just ran around the movie set with him on his shoulders. Gene LaBelle actually had one of the first MMA matches in the United States in the 60s. He was actually Joe Louis and all those the top martial artists at the time. They were getting called out by the boxers by Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali was the best, and they were saying that boxing could beat everybody, and they came to Judo Gene LaBelle in California, and they came to him and said, "Hey Gene, we want you to fight in an MMA, like a full contact, like no rule kind of deal against boxers." And he was like, "Why would you come to me? You're like Joe Louis, and this is like Bill Superfoot Wallace. Like, what are you guys coming? I'm a judo guy. Why are you coming to me?" They said, "Because you're the most sadistic bastard we know." You just kill them. And so he's like, well, I don't know about that. And they said, we'll give you $1,000. He said, oh, I'm there. I'll do it. And, he's like, I'll choke my mom out for $1,000, but she probably doesn't.
Hey, $20, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I'd probably lose, but you know. So he went to Salt Lake City back in the '60s, and they did a radio deal. And the guy on the radio said, you know, here's the number 5 boxer in the world going against the judo guy, and it was a pro boxing deal. Everybody believed boxers were going to win, and the commentator even said, I don't think chokes work. This is a big deal for some reason. People don't think chokes. Steven Seagal said chokes don't work. And Gene LaBelle usually straightens him out on that. He has a patch that says, I got choked out by judo Gene LaBelle. He gives people when he chokes them out. And so the commentator goes, it doesn't work. And Gene said, well, you want me to try? He said, yeah. So Gene gets him and chokes him unconscious on his TV show, right? His radio program or back in the 60s, whatever it was, TV or radio. And the guy passes out. Well, Gene's really mean about this. He would just drop you and let you fall down the stairs. He is sadistic like that. And so the microphone's like boom, 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 you know, falling down the steps. Gene goes and gets it and says, hey, everybody, this is Gene LaBelle. Evidently your commentator here got sleepy and decided to take a nap. I don't know what's going on with him. But I'm going to come in here tomorrow night and I'm going to choke this guy out and I'm going to pile drive him through that mat. And then when he thaws out this spring, I'm going to pick him up, choke him again, and drive him back in that floor. I'll see y'all tomorrow. And he threw that thing sold out in 2 hours.
That's hilarious. Hey, do you guys know if you guys familiar with Randy Couture, right? UFC.
Yes.
Is he also jiu-jitsu?
Yes, he does. Well, his background was Olympic level wrestling, but he is a legit jiu-jitsu guy.
So the reason why I bring this up, and this is my final, because I know we're about to wrap up here. For those that want to really look into jiu-jitsu and just get an idea of exactly what these guys have talked about, go look up the MMA fight, James Toney versus Randy Couture, boxer versus
awesome.
That was one of the fights that's still stuck in my head. How James Toney was so wrapped up he didn't even know how to tap, and it was in the first couple of minutes of the fight. So go check that out.
He got made to feel real stupid.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, James Toney studied MMA to prepare for that fight. So even though he was a multiple-time world champion boxer and he studied takedowns and defense, he still didn't get 0 punches. 0.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. It's a selfish question, just because it's something that, as I've looked into jiu-jitsu, and correct me if I'm wrong, but are there 2 branches of jiu-jitsu, that the Gracies, and then is there another side to it, or is it, or am I mistaken on that? And what's the lineage of that, if there is such a thing? If not, I'm
there definitely is.
Completely ignorant on it. Is it just 2 then? Was there a split?
It all stemmed from the Gracie family. That's where it all started. And you know, there was I want to say it was a judo or Japanese style jiu-jitsu practitioner that met up with Master Elio Gracie, and that's, you know, those 2 working together is where Brazilian jiu-jitsu was born.
In Okinawa, right?
That's where the guy was originally from. Yes.
Yeah.
And then Master Elio is from Brazil, of course, but yeah, that's where that was born. So everything is stemmed from that. I mean, of course, there's branch offs. People have gotten their black belts and started a school or a style, not a style, but in their own name. You know, you have 10th Planet, and you have Team Winklejohn, and you have Gracie Baja, and you have, you know, RCJ Machado, which is our banner. But it all, I mean, at the end of the day, it all goes back to one source.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just look at their lineage. Most Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools, if you ask me or Zach, what's our lineage, we can tell you really quickly. Mine's Carlos Machado to Carlos Gracie to Elio Gracie. That's it. It's three people to the tree, you know, the source. You know,
for
Zach,
me, mine's now the same. Just add you, but before that, it was Master Hobson. And then Master Hobson came out of Novo and Yao, which was Carlos as well. That we should have gone right back to Master Elio.
Yeah, if they don't know where they came from, then it's probably not.
Yeah, if you can't trace it back, you know, 3 or 4 generations worth, then because you do have your McDojo guys out there that all of a sudden haven't trained for 6 years, but I have a black belt. Well, yeah, it's because you went online and ordered it. You know, I don't buy belts. If I have a belt, it's because it was presented to me.
Yeah, I guess in Krav Maga, there's probably that's more prevalent where you're buying belts, and it's is that something that we should be concerned with when we're looking at a gym to go train at or start training at? Is the lineage of it, or I guess what's the most important thing I should think about?
I think what Danny said earlier is the most important thing. Go in there and scope it out. Is the vibe right? I mean, you walk in our gym and it's a family. We're definitely going after each other, but there's nobody ever going to get taken advantage of. Nobody's going to get banged up just because we're being mean. You know, you really do take care of each other, look after each other. We get together out of the gym still. You need help? I'll be there. You know, that's just how things are done. And that was the old Gracie way, was your team is a family. So if you walk in and you see a gym where that's happening versus a gym that's, you know, like an MMA style gym where they're really just grinding each other to dust. I mean, that's, you know, depending on what you want. If you want that, hey, have at it. I'm old enough to know I'm never going to make a living fighting, so I don't need that.
So basically, what we're looking for is a Patreon page at a gym
where you choke each other. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a Patreon page plus choking.
Gotcha. And we have that actually because there's a thing where Jeremy chokes you out and you get a patch and a sticker.
Not me. I don't get patches.
No, not you, Jeremy. Jeremy Posderick.
The other one. So this is something that I've been wanting to get into. So I'll probably have some questions that I'll shoot you guys over an email later on. If looking at a couple different jiu-jitsu gyms here. Ben in the comments, he was talking to me about one that he trains at. I think you guys did a lot to help me put some of my concerns to bed, and hopefully that's the same for some of our other listeners. The big thing is, am I going to go in there and get my ass kicked on day one and be like, oh man, I can't hang?
Well, the big thing is walk in there humble. That's the best advice I can give you, is walk in there humble.
Perfect. Yeah, if you walk in and you've got any chance of beating anyone there, it's probably not a very good gym. That would not. There's a mountain to climb up to get to a black belt in jiu-jitsu for sure. I remember being at the bottom of that mountain thinking, I can't even see the top. It's just clouds. You know, it's really, really, your confidence. As adults, we don't really think about confidence. You think of kids with confidence, but as you get older and you used to play sports and you used to be in the top shape of your life and you start to get away from that, your confidence is affected. I can't tell you how much better I feel because I got out of martial arts for a few years and then I got back into it. And, now I take like 22-year-old wrestlers and just ball them up into a little ball and put them in my pocket. Just do whatever I want to. It's a very big confidence. Like, I had somebody at Waffle House the other day being really rude, and I just thought to myself, I could fold his shirt up with him in it and go put it in the trash can, come back over here and pay for my, it's a very, very good feeling.
Empowering.
I like it. Yeah. I like it a lot.
But you'll know whether you can or can't. Like when you grapple, if the girls are beating you up, you're like, I got a ways to go. The girls are getting me. I gotta work on this.
Well, Zach, I cannot wait to come down there and train with you in April. And that's going to be an awesome class. Danny, I hope you're able to attend. It's going to be Sean flying in. I'm going to pick him up. We're going to drive over to Shreveport and we're going to throw all sorts of crazy stuff at you. And I can't wait to see how you guys use your mental, physical, your abilities that you guys have been working on for years and years and years in a trauma force on force class. So we're really looking forward to that. And, we appreciate you guys coming on the After Action Project. And Jeremy, do you have anything to close out with?
I was just going to say, I think you got Judson to sign up when you said you could fold that boy up and put him in your pocket and do whatever you want with it.
Really?
Sorry.
Justin's just getting excited about putting boys in his pockets again.
Yeah. I've just been, soaking it all in because I'm glad we did this discussion because it's something that's been on my mind. My boy was doing Kenpo for a little bit. By a little bit, I mean a really short period of time. And jiu-jitsu is kind of where I want to steer him. And then, my daughter, when she's a little bit older, she's only 3 right now. So I think this will help me out a lot in making some of those decisions. But
You have my information. Contact me with any questions or gym suggestions. I can track information down, so I'm available.
That's perfect. I appreciate that. Well, Zach, do you have any parting advice for our listeners? Any last minutes? I know it's jam packed with advice, but if there's one thing you could tell our listeners, best piece of advice, what would it be?
Is just remember, everybody starts at 0. So go in and try it. Everybody started from the same place. Just go and get started.
Perfect. And Danny, the same thing to you. Best piece of advice for our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Go look at the gyms around you and watch a couple of classes. See if it has the right atmosphere, and if the people from white belt to black belt, you see that progression. Like they're starting out just like you, and then they end up becoming just the baddest people you've ever seen. They can do anything they want to people when they get that black belt. And then just 1%, just a little bit a day. Don't try to be that person immediately. It'll take time.
That's probably my struggle point, because I want to be black belt day 2. And I know better, but that's just my, that's my.
Hey, you have to pass the instructor qual first.
Hey, man.
Oh, I even passed that.
Dude, I don't want to talk about that. I'm still upset about that. Damn. We had a last listener question sneak in there from Ben. How much should you expect to be submitted in the first 6 months?
Yep.
All the times?
All the time.
Yep.
Every night.
Yep.
Every night.
Pretty much count on it.
Is that from Alpha Ben?
Yeah.
Okay. I love that guy.
Nice.
Expect it to happen continuously, and then keep at it. And by that 6 month mark, you'll see it doesn't happen continuously, and then you'll notice you start to submit others, and that's when it gets real exciting. That light bulb comes on. You're like, yes.
We're interesting. Like human beings are interesting. We think automatically that we're able to handle ourselves and defend ourselves in any situation, and it's a hard reality check times, because we just in our mind there's a video I watched that's funny. It's like we overestimate our abilities by 4,000%. Like I don't want to get into a fight because I don't want to kill nobody. Like, have you ever been in a fight before? Where do you come up with this stuff? But we just innately think like that. And when they go to class, it'll be interesting. You just got to go in there and with the right mindset. This is going to be a humbling thing. It's going to be, I'm going to learn a lot. I'm going to actually be what I think I am one day. We're interesting like that.
Yeah, that's me. It sums me up perfectly. I told my wife, I'm just running to the store. I'll be back in 20 minutes. An hour and a half later, I'm texting her if she needs stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. Judson, Andy, do you guys have any last minute advice, parting advice for our listeners?
Yeah, I do actually. For the people that don't know me, I don't give a crap, but I've been going through stuff in the last year, and my body's been mean to me, and I have not been able to shoot let's go every time we go to the range with our friends and family and brothers and sisters. If you're an instructor, we try to requalify with our instructor target, which is it's not a stupid hard drill. It's 15 yards, 20 rounds, and 16 of those rounds have to fall in a 6-inch circle inside of an 8-inch plate. And because of my limitations, I haven't been able to do that for a year, and I haven't tried to do it for 6 months. And yesterday, I was on the range with Andy and Jeremy and Justin and Ben, Alpha Ben, and who else was there?
Dave. I wasn't there, though.
Dave, right. And we all stuck up instructor quals, and I was able to actually qualify on an instructor target for the first time in a year.
Nice.
So what my parting advice is, there's hope. Go out there and do it. Get out there and try it. Don't stop trying, because the second you stop trying is the second you submit.
I love it. Andy, what about you?
Oh man, thanks for hopping on as always. With these type of podcasts, generally we talk about guns and self-defense and we're shooting and all this stuff. I think it's very important that we, dive into this pretty often with martial arts, and because I think this benefits most more than guns do, believe it or not. So thank you guys for coming on. It was actually a really good podcast. You guys answered a lot of questions that I've always had in my head, so I appreciate both of you.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. It was great having you guys on. Remember, it's your life. It's your safety and protection. It's your responsibility. Head over to afteractionproject.com/giveaway, and we'll see y'all next week.
And show